tires.
It's the way it goes, isn't it?
Not participating.
Well, let everybody know you were running a little behind. And I said, assuming he does 90 miles an hour, he'll be here in a few minutes.
I mean, you could use the human radio button.
Ready? Good morning. Welcome to the October 3rd Technical Review Committee meeting. Apologize for starting a little bit late. Thanks to all of our construction going on in our county. I had a flat tire this morning. First item of business is to approve the minutes from the July 11 meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
And do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this motion is carried. The minutes are adopted. We'll move. Do we have any announcements this morning, Karen? Okay, we'll move right into our agenda. Our first item, we have a request to continue for the PCH office building. Request to continue to November 7th, Technical Review Committee meeting in this room at 8:30 a.m. Can we have a motion to continue?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion is approved. This item will continue to November 7th. The next item on our agenda is the Carroll Lake Townhomes. Request to approve by final order. It's been reviewed by Kelly Frommeyer. Kelly, if you would briefly introduce this one for us.
Good morning. This is a major development order application submitted by Nautilus Civil Engineers on behalf of JAB Holdings. Proposal is for construction of 44 residential townhomes and neighborhood amenities, including a pool and bathhouse, on about 9.42 acres. The property is currently impacted by an existing man-made pond. This property is also directly north of what will be a mixed-use development that was approved a couple months ago. We had a compatibility analysis to demonstrate that the neighborhood infill, the 44 units, was compatible. And there are a few planning comments that need to be addressed. Additionally, we have some comments from South Walton County Mosquito Control and Florida Department of Health that got in a little bit late, so I have a copy of those if we need to look at them. The applicant was provided a copy of them also.
Thank you, Kelly. Morning, Curtis. Comment from the applicant?
Curtis Smith, Nautilus Civil Engineers. I had the opportunity to talk with Kelly this morning, also Aaron, on the minor planning and flood zone comments we got. And I just got Ben's comments from mosquito control this morning, and we're going to talk after the meeting and clear these up. So I think we're in pretty good shape on these comments. We can get these addressed before Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Some of our comments are on access to the ditch running across the property. It's actually the county easement on Veterans Road, but we've always maintained it. That area we haven't because it's so wild right now with trees. It looks like they're going to cut it down, and if somebody has to access it to maintain it, there may not be any room for landscape there. And I don't know what the plan would be for, if there's washouts or any large repairs that have to be done, we can't reach it from the other side. That's one of our issues.
Yeah, we can go ahead and address your overarching concerns to begin with. On the mosquito control ditch, like we started talking about, the property immediately to the north has upgraded or has proposed to upgrade their culvert from the existing 38-inch up to the double barrel. They went to a double 60. They had a double 4x6 culvert like we have. but they changed for pricing concerns. The parcel immediately to the south, it's a very small one. They still have a single barrel 30 or 50, I believe, something like that. That's the only limiting one right now in that area. The parcel to the south of that is the Commerce Park PUD, and they proposed to upgrade to the double 4x6. The driving factor for all those upgrades was the FDOT culvert under Highway 98. And we met with Public Works out there, and he said that preferably we would just match what was under FDOT unless we did an analysis to show we can go with something smaller. Since everyone else is doing that same size, I think it's appropriate for this project to do the same. Now, to address your concerns on flooding, and also erosion control, we're proposing to actually widen that channel out as we're getting in there and working and building a new culvert. The bottom, really making a defined bottom. The side slopes, we're proposing pure mat, permanent turf reinforcement mat, which has like a 50 or 60 year design life on it. That stuff actually grows grass through it, so we'll seed in the mat and have it start growing under that permanent turf reinforcement mat. I actually provided calculations to show the shear strength of what's going through that channel at a full flow condition, and this permanent turf reinforcement mat has almost double the shear strength capability of what's a full flow condition in that channel. So I know it's deep in there, you might not care about hydrology, but there's a lot of information there about that channel if you care to look at it. The third thing is the pond itself. We have purposely raised the flood elevation on the pond on site so that it drastically slows down the outflow from that pond to the areas to the north. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was on the order of magnitude of around 50 to 100 cubic feet per second. We were decreasing out of what's existing today on high flows out of the site pond into the mosquito control ditch. So we're doing quite a bit to upgrade that mosquito control ditch as it is.
Will y'all be maintaining it, or who will cut the grass that you're talking about? I mean,
That's a good question. I asked Public Works about that day. I mean, obviously, the developers here today, I think they would want to have that maintained since it is front of the property. The slopes are steep. It's going to be hard to maintain, as it always has been. So I'm not really sure what the answer to that is.
well, we care, I guess, deeply on how it's going to be maintained, and one of our deals is with the culvert upsizing. It's for upstream flooding, but we're worried about downstream flooding, and we don't have that kind of protection on our ditches downstream for the sheer flow you're talking about. The hydrology is going to wipe our other ditches out if we get I believe the limited erosion control we have down there, if it gets to a higher velocity, more water. So we're kind of in a disagreement with the county maybe on whether those need to be upsized or not.
Are you suggesting they don't need to be upsized?
I don't know. They haven't shown me any kind of study on whether the downstream is going to be flooded or not if they add more water.
So one thing I would say to that is that's a really big study. It's way beyond something like this, and I think Bill could probably attest to this. Dewberry's done quite a bit of studying on culverts and things around the county. It's not just kind of think about it and know what's going to happen, because if you increase the culvert size, it actually decreases the velocity of the water running through it substantially, and it can actually, increasing now, can actually let the lower flows pass quicker and get through without flooding as much downstream. So if you're worried about the hydrology, I think a larger study is really the thing that has to happen. It's, we're talking about hundreds of acres in South Walton. That's really beyond the scope of the project that we're working with, but the best thing I know to do is to upsize that culvert to match what's going in up and downstream, and go with that. To keep our culvert small wouldn't make any sense, since up and downstream is enlarged now. So.
And I did speak to Charlie. I know you met him on site, and we have no comments for this. His recommendation was to match the previous culvert upstream, and our standard policy is not to restrict flow from upstream. And so I believe you met his requirements, so we have no comments.
Okay.
And that's where we stand with the county. They save more water downstream, we're saying, hold on, there's people downstream, but
Do y'all have any engineering to,
No.
to support what you're suggesting?
no,
Um,
we just have questions. If you keep on adding more water downstream, what happens? We know the bridge is at capacity. I mean, every time there's a nice, large rain event, Chat Holly Bridge there's water at the bridge, the yards around it flood now, so. It's, guess not our problem.
Is
It's
that
the
possibly
county's.
related to further restrictions downstream in the mosquito control ditches?
The bridge.
That's
The
restricting water?
bridge, the bridge is restricting water, that's huge. So I mean, that's way bigger than what we're talking about here. And then after that, it goes into natural floodlands. Yes, it's probably restricting an outfall, definitely. But it's just our point we're trying to make, that gotta look downstream sometimes.
Well, generally, situations like this, as the developer's coming in to rebuild and has to rebuild it, you would want to build it to the better standards so that when you do improve Chat Holly at some point, you don't have an upstream constriction going on.
That's-
That's really the way that's usually handled.
okay.
This is a major development. It will have public hearings at Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners before approval. Do we have a recommended motion?
Recommend to approve pending satisfaction of comments and forward to Planning Commission.
We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to move this item forward, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. Do we have any technical comments or questions from any member of the public? Hearing none, we have a motion on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carries. This item will move forward to Planning Commission, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. This moves us to item number 3, the Geronimo Communications Tower, request to approve by final order. It's been reviewed by Renee Bradley, and this is a major development. Renee, can you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, sir. This is a major development order application submitted by Matthews and Jones LLP on behalf of Gulf Power Company, requesting to replace a 90-foot communications tower with a new self-supporting 180-foot. This project's located in the Coastal Center land use. It's at the southeast corner of Geronimo Street at the Gulf Power Substation, and that is south of US Highway 98, and it's identified by the parcel in your packet. There is very minor comments related to this, and there are planning comments. We're still pending fire review, no engineering comments. This project was required to get a variance for setbacks. We have received that variance as of last Thursday. So that's all staff has for.
Okay, comments from the applicant?
Stephen Tatum for the applicant. Pretty simple from a technical standpoint on this. It's within the substation, which is, already gravelled, fully developed, basically substation. There's a tower already there in the proximity. They're going to just relocate on it. We're also providing space for South Walton Fire and for the Sheriff's Department for them to locate on the tower at some later date. And it's really needed to improve the communications within the area. Southern Link is going to be the primary leaseholder on the tower itself, and Southern Link provides Walton County School District and Walton County, actually the county itself, their cell service. So if you've got any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thanks, Stephen. This is a major development. It'll get public hearings at the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. However, at this time, we'll entertain any technical question or comment from any member of the audience. Anyone wishing to make a comment or ask a question? Seeing none, do we have a recommended motion?
We recommend moving this forward to the planning commission. We want to try to do the planning commission meeting and the BCC in November if possible.
Okay. Do we have a motion of the dais?
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will move forward to the Planning Commission. That brings us to item number 4, the Topsail West PUD restaurant. Requested approved by development order, and this has been reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, can you briefly introduce it for us?
Yes, good morning. This is a minor development order application requesting approval to construct a 3,500 square foot restaurant and associated infrastructure within the approved Topsail West PUD on 6.06 acres with the future land use of Town Center 2. It's located at the northwest corner of West Hewitt and US Highway 98. This is also contingent upon the PUD amendment, which is changing the PUD from gas station convenience store to restaurant. There are a number of comments, planning comments, engineering comments, floodplain. Did not receive any fire comments as of the date of the report. There's also some, this does have to go, it's in the scenic corridor, so it does have to go to the Design Review Board for approval, and there's a number of scenic corridor comments as well, but they're all fairly minor unless engineering has something. I don't think they're deal breakers. They can be addressed prior to going to the DRB. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Mike Harper, Buchanan and Harper, here representing St. Joe Company. I don't really have anything to say other than, be glad to answer any questions. I agree that most of the comments are relatively minor. We should be able to address them without any significant trouble.
Are we proposing any additional improvements to West Hewitt Road?
No.
That was one of my biggest concerns was the traffic that we already have backed up on West Hewitt with the Walmart, and I know this PUD was vested for trips and approved a while back, and that's one of the things I requested was an intersection analysis and turn lane analysis, because right now it backs up
Yeah, and
substantially.
I think your turn lane analysis was there was a little bit of confusion at one point. I think it's really directed more towards the intersection and the existing right turn into the site that we're proposing. So we understand that. We're talking with Kimley Horn right now. They did the original analysis for the PUD, so they're looking at that. So.
And then the other concern I had was just the internal connection on Dune Lakes Boulevard there. The one closest to West Hewitt Road, it just appears to be way too close for circulation. I understand that the multiple driveway accesses are part of the PUD circulation plan,
Right.
but this has been amended several times, so I just wanted you to look at that driveway.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at it. West Hewitt Road is a collector road,
Mhm.
and the LDC is 50 feet. We have more than 50 feet separation between drives. It appears to me to be in compliance with the LDC.
I guess my concern is you got the radius coming off of West Hewitt to Dune Lakes Boulevard, doesn't even reach a tangent before you're turning into the driveway, coming into your proposed restaurant site. And it just seems like that's gonna be an issue, especially when the rest of this PUD develops.
I mean, I understand your concern. I can discuss it with the applicant. We can, if we need to, we can get with you and have a separate conversation.
One of the,
I would concur in that. I mean, that driveway is already impacting an intersection that's problematic, given I go there almost every day. I have just personal experience in that intersection. We've got a number of people that have historically complained about improvements in this intersection. When we went to improve the liquor box at Walmart, had tremendous public objection to that extension and the additional congestion that that would have caused to improve that on the east side of the Walmart store right at this intersection. I think that driveway connection right there on the west side is problematic.
Yeah, so I take it that your preference would be that that goes away.
I think it would be.
I'll certainly discuss that with the applicant and we'll
Because for
see.
one thing, there's a lot more traffic that's gonna come on Dune Lake Boulevard,
Right,
as this continues to build out, because we aren't showing anything on the north side yet, and
no,
that's a big piece on the north side.
right, but you know, if you look at the PUD, Dune Lakes Boulevard was really meant to be an internal, it's not really a road per se, it's meant to be sort of a, you know, internal access point to development north and south side, and I think the PUD reflects that. Has lots of connections, you know, typically if it was more functioning more as a road, you'd wanna, you know, limit the connections, but I think the initial concept was that it would have those connections as though it functioned as part of that development. You know, I wasn't involved in the original planning of the PUD, but I mean, that's the way it was envisioned. But we can certainly, I'll get with the applicant and we'll discuss that.
Yeah, based on the concept plans, based on having Terramar apartments, and it's gonna function like a roadway.
Yeah, and some of the
Parallels
stuff
90.
was, when we looked at it conceptually, yeah, it looked fine on paper, but now we have real experience with this development.
Right.
Um,
No, we certainly will have a discussion about that particular point of connection. And that was your primary concern with the connections on Dune Lakes Boulevard, was just that one point?
Yeah, that one point, the LDC also has provisions for number of connection points or access points, but this is a large parcel, and of course, the PUD was approved with a circulation plan. And like I stated, it's been amended because this was supposed to be for a gas station, so we just need to look at that, because I think the maximum is 2, and if you're over 660 feet or 600 feet, you're allowed 3 access points, but this being an overall development, we can look at it a little differently, but I do believe that western access to the restaurant is gonna be problematic.
Also, I believe you had a question about fill on the site, which road to use?
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be an issue.
Well, we spoke about it earlier. We don't see an issue with using West Hewitt. Because I got a question this morning from April asking, instead of using Highway 98, can we use West Hewitt because of the difference in the elevation? And I don't think we have an issue with using West Hewitt.
Yeah, well, one of my comments was the proposed fill is like 3 or 4 feet, and West Hewitt right now, when it rains, and before you guys filled, or not you guys, but before St. Joe filled this wetland area, the roadway water just trickled off and went into the ditch. There's no swale on the side of West Hewitt, and it puddles up now, so the proposed fill being 4 feet, I was afraid, or I am afraid, that that's gonna cause flooding on the county right away.
Yeah, I understand. I saw that comment, but it's really 2 things, so let me break it up. I think what April was talking about is that if we did want to try to reduce the fill on the site, you know, we're required to have the finished floor elevation of the store at 1 foot above the center line of the adjacent road. Highway 98 is pretty high. And, you know, I think she was calling to confirm that y'all would be okay in using West Hewitt Road as the basis for that as opposed to 98. That's what she was looking at, so.
Yeah,
And
also
I
the 1
take it
foot of
that you're
fill
in
over the
yeah,
site.
I take it you're in agreement with that.
Yeah,
As
we
far as,
discussed it. I don't think there's an issue with using West Hewitt.
Yeah, as far as the 1 foot of fill, I don't think that's gonna be a problem. With regard to the improvements within West Hewitt, I don't have a problem in maybe doing some minor grading in West Hewitt Road. I mean, if you're looking for, you know, a major improvement project for West Hewitt Road, you know, I think that's something that the applicant would need to discuss and probably get back with you. But we could certainly look and see if there's, you know, maybe a swale could be, you know, put in place in that area or something to help facilitate it. I don't think that they have the ability to take and all of a sudden take stormwater from West Hewitt Road and include it into their stormwater management system. I think that would be difficult.
I think if you do that intersection analysis to determine whether or not we need additional lanes or additional improvements to West Hewitt, all that would also trigger having to deal with the additional stormwater runoff. So I think either way, we're gonna have to look at how we're gonna address that issue from the site development. Conveyance swales, you're proposing a sidewalk there, there's really not any room to put a swale with the sidewalk being in the right of way there. It's on your property for most of the project, and then on West Hewitt, it's in the right of way. It's just something we need to look at.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe we need to just, you know, talk with our client and then we'll get back with you and see if we can, come to an agreeable resolution on
Yeah, I
what's the
understand that,
best way
and
to
maybe
deal
we
with
can
that.
look, we can talk with Public Works as well on the right-of-way drainage.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you about extending the sidewalk all the way out to, the next intersection along US 98.
We haven't talked about that, I don't believe, but,
But that's one thing I've asked St. Joe to do,
Yeah.
is to go ahead and build a sidewalk on the north side of US 98 from the entrance to the
From-
apartment complex,
yeah,
all the way out to the corner of West Hewitt, for public safety.
right.
We've had people run over and killed walking on the side of the road for lack of a sidewalk in front of Topsail West PUD.
Well, we anticipate that there will be, you know, there's other parcels involved in this. I guess the question would be,
When?
when? I think the timing of some of the other development is probably sooner rather than later.
Well, we've approved the, at least the dredge and fill portion all along US
Right,
98.
right,
That's development. It's time to bring the sidewalk.
okay. So you would like to see the sidewalk
I wanna see
extended
the
as
sidewalk
part
come
of this
along.
DO? The
Whether it's part of
entire
this DO or it's a companion DO, I wanna
Okay.
see that.
Got it.
I mean, it's just, it's time. I mean, we've been into this project for 10 years. We need to build a sidewalk on US 98 for the protection of pedestrians walking along 98 towards Walmart, which is part of this development. This is a safety problem that did not exist prior to the development of this project. I'd like to see that aspect of it accelerated in the schedule.
Would, and I don't know, I haven't talked to my client about that, but, if they were to give some sort of a acceptable schedule as to bringing that back either as a separate DO, would that work for you?
Well, they are using the whole parcel here. The whole 6.06 acres goes from the entrance to the
Yeah.
apartments to the corner of West Hewitt.
I think that needs to be part of this project or a separate
Okay, well,
project
that's
that
what
runs
that's
side
what
by
I was
side.
trying to get out. So
Um,
I'm taking now that you would like for it to be part of this DO.
As far as time frame, absolutely, yes. And I've had this discussion with Bridget Precise. And she committed that St. Joe would do it. This project is, Tim, when are we planning to take this to DRB?
When the scenic corridor comments have been resolved.
And there's a number of those that are
Yeah, mostly
outstanding.
dealing with the architect and the landscape architect. They're mostly landscape comments and architectural comments. But I was gonna ask, what's the pleasure of the committee? Continue it or move it forward?
Sounds like there's a lot to do.
Well, we would prefer that it not be continued.
I understand that.
Do you think you can address all these comments? In
I do.
short period of time?
I mean, certainly the engineering comments can be addressed. And, you know, everyone else has obligated themselves to address them as well. The one area that, which I think we can address as well, but that, you know, maybe more difficult, maybe if we had to get into some sort of a protracted analysis of the intersection. But as far as addressing that, I really think that we'll be able to take care of that as well. We have a meeting with Kimley Horn after this, so, you know, right now, we don't know of any reason why we won't be able to resolve that as well.
How soon do you think you might be able to resubmit addressing all these comments?
I think that the 8th was the date that you requested the information to be back. If I remember correctly, it needed to be back on the 8th.
I think that's the deadline for the DRB meeting next month, the next November meeting. I mean, we do these separately. Once you resolve the scenic corridor issues, you can move forward to the DRB, even if you have outstanding TRC comments.
Right.
Can't get your development order until you resolve all the TRC, but we're not gonna hold you up from the DRB review for outstanding TRC comments.
Let me. The 8th was, the TRC comments, DRB comments were mostly architectural in nature.
And landscaping.
And landscaping.
Yeah.
You're gonna, when do you think that you'll be able to resubmit those? Quickly? Sorry? October 10th, that's, the deadline is the 8th. You'll have them submitted by the deadline. So they have a commitment to submit them by the deadline.
Okay. We have a recommended motion?
If there's no objection, recommend a motion to approve the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues / comments and move it forward to the design review board.
We have a motion that dies.
Mac, how does it work with this PUD that was approved so long ago before the multiple residential developments happened north on West Hewitt to create more traffic on West Hewitt? The Terramar apartments are completely full using this road. Walmart's jammed up everywhere. I know the trips are vested, but I just think that an updated traffic analysis of this whole thing, I just feel like we're gonna dig ourselves into a hole if we don't look at the traffic now on West Hewitt at that intersection that's already backed up, jammed up. People are complaining about the semi trucks parking on the side of the road to deliver to Walmart. Now you've got a restaurant there that's, I forget how many PM peak hour trips, it was close to 100 or maybe 70. It just seems like we're gonna have a mess there and then not have any way to fix it without the county doing their thing. So the question is, this PUD was approved, they had a traffic analysis to best trips for the PUD. That didn't include any kind of improvements to intersections or anything at that time, I assume. So-
Don't think it did, but it seemed like there was a trigger at some point for an analysis of the intersection.
Yeah, there is.
Could-
There is a trigger in there for the intersection analysis. There is.
Okay.
Could I make a suggestion or offer something?
Sure.
I've conferred with my client. What we could do is, I mean, you know, this is a relatively small development, but they've got the two other phases that they want to bring before you fairly quickly. Rather than doing, you know, sort of an interim thing, if it's okay with y'all, we could make this, you could condition this that they can't bring anything else until they do a full-blown intersection analysis. And we'll go ahead and get a full-blown intersection. We can get into whether or not improvements are required, see what's required, and do, you know, a true intersection analysis, go a little bit beyond a planning analysis. Then, you know, that way it wouldn't hold this up, but it wouldn't let them submit anything else. They've got another one they want to submit relatively quickly, and then you would get, you know, a complete analysis.
I feel that'd be fair, because I know on the north side of Dune Lakes, there's a big, we don't know what it's gonna be, but it's a big box store looking, in concept, you know, which is gonna be a high trip, generator, so I think I'd be okay with that. We can move this forward, contingent upon any additional phases of this PED, providing that traffic.
Yeah, and that way you'd have the opportunity to get with traffic engineer and, you know,
Okay, and Public Works, and
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
get in traffic ops, okay.
might be a better solution.
I think I'd be agreeable to that.
Would you like to offer that motion?
Let's see if I can restate it.
Yeah, can you capture all that?
You might want to ask that directly rather than me trying to restate it.
We have some additional development coming up as part of this. Could we do this analysis starting, you know, tomorrow and still be able to submit for other DOs, but just have the traffic analysis complete and in process before the other ones are approved? As opposed to saying we can't submit anything.
So in other words, you have other projects that are ready to be submitted, but you don't have the traffic study that we're talking about.
In the near future, I think what she's saying is not that you would approve them, but that just they could go ahead and submit them while that's being done. You would still get a chance to review it prior to approving those DOs, correct? Yeah, you would get it. She just doesn't wanted to make sure that it'd be okay that you could be reviewing other parts of it while that work is going, and then you would get it before you know, you had to make a decision on those DOs.
Wouldn't that be a comment of the next review? Is that an operational
Sure.
analysis would need to be provided?
Yeah, but
Or
I
they sign off?
probably would actually, I'm guessing it would get done before you ever got to that point, but, because you would be involved with it while, you know, she just wanted to make sure that you were not gonna prohibit submittal prior to that being done.
No, we can't prohibit any
Yeah,
submittal.
yeah.
But, so.
Or just,
the-
I
the
think
comment
maybe
would
it's just
be-
to let you know that there's a possibility or a probability that they may submit something while that's still being,
That's fine, I just
Yeah.
think that we'll just need that traffic analysis, and if you submit prior to having that, that'll just be another comment
sure,
to have that.
We can work with that.
thank you.
So I would recommend that we move this project forward, subject to any additional phases, providing a full-blown traffic study for the additional, traffic on West Hewitt and that intersection prior to any approval. How's that work, Ben? So good?
I don't know. Is that, I mean, so you'll be able to make the changes that are good enough for us on the road here before the traffic analysis to move it forward and be approved?
They feel like they can address the issues that we pointed out for this particular project. However, I think moving forward, we need to really look at this road and this intersection and how all that traffic's gonna affect that with the additional phases.
Yeah, we can get the intersection analysis.
we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is actually, this is a minor development. So we'll take the opportunity to open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make a comment about this particular project? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed likewise? This item moves forward to the next step. Thank you. That moves us to item number 5, Southeast Land Partners, small scale amendment. It's been reviewed by Bob Baranchi. Bob, can you briefly introduce this one for us?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a small-scale amendment being requested by Southeast Land Partners, LLC. It's a request to approve by ordinance. Project number in your staff report is being reviewed by myself. This is a small-scale amendment application submitted by Interlight Engineering on behalf of Southeast Land Partners, requesting approval to amend the future land use category from rural village to general commercial on 3.57 plus or minus acres. The project is located from the intersection of US 331 North and Jolly Bay Road. Head north 0.25 miles, with property being located on the east side. It's identified by parcel numbers in your agenda. With that being said, the applicant has submitted the compatibility analysis. Staff agrees with it. There have been no public comments received up until today. Planning has no comments. Emergency management says it's in Zone B. There's no comments from engineering. There's no outstanding comments from environmental. And fire has stated that this meets their technical review at this time. And the school board will not have any fees because the small scale amendment is not residential. The applicant is here, Mr. Smith. He will gladly answer any questions you may have.
Is there did code enforcement clear this parcel?
I believe they have.
I didn't see a note in here.
I will double check.
Is this the parcel that has been filled on the weekends?
Probably. I think so.
I'm David Smith. Good morning. I don't know if it's been filled on weekends, but this is the parcel that was approved by the county to be used as a stockpile area for Anderson Columbia to build the roadway.
Is this the parcel that has a chain link fence around it?
I don't think so.
I can triple check on that, Mr. Chair.
It sure looks like it.
I can't speak to Phil. I just know there's an approval here for it to be used as a stockpile area for the roadway construction.
I think the stockpile's still there, about 2 or 3 feet higher than the existing grade, leveled and,
I got you.
and grassed.
So it's still stockpiled? Okay.
I think permanently, yeah.
Better check with code enforcement.
I've talked to them in the past, and I know
I'm pretty
there-
sure this is the parcel.
But there was a code case, and one of the agreements, that's when they got me involved, was they intend to move forward with development. And I think the question came up if they placed dirt, was that development? And the answer was yes. So then they agreed to move forward with a development order to, move forward. But concurrently, and I think it's very important, it's approved to be a stockpile area. So that's a side note, but I think it's a very important note. But their intention is.
We had a development order on that?
No, we
Or
have
is this-
approval from the county administrator, and there were some emails, you're on it, and it's a while back, but there's some emails there where it was approved to be a stockpile area.
For the wide 331.
That's right. But having said that, Our intention is to go forward with the small scale amendment and then move forward obviously into development, which to me would obviously be development. So, you know, I think that would address all the concerns here.
What's the proposed use?
Right now, I don't have the exact use we're due. Obviously, we want to get through the small scale amendment for general commercial, but obviously it'll be a commercial use. I don't know the exact commercial use at this time.
Yeah, I think they used the, land use of office park for the preliminary traffic,
That's right.
submittal, so. And that was, one of the higher trip generators, if you will,
And that's why we did it.
to use, yeah, cause you were unsure what the use was gonna be.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from the dais? Recommend a motion.
Mr. Chair, until I check, do you want to make it conditionally pending that I verify today again that, code is clear with it moving it forward, and that if it's not clear, it'll be held up until all violations have been satisfied?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question? To make sure I'm clear. If our intention is to develop a commercial use, I mean, we would need, obviously, to have a development order to do that, which I think if there are any code concerns would satisfy the code concern. How do we get there if we get?
Well, development order may be part of the remedy.
Yeah, that's our goal.
But we're starting out having already started
And we can't by
before
code.
development order. So we'll have to address that part, and we can do that. But we can entertain a motion to move this forward, subject to clearing with code enforcement.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can have that cleared as soon as I get back. I mean, the resolve as soon as I get back to the office.
And I don't know, sitting here, that there is an open code violation on this case, or on this particular parcel. I'm just suggesting that there might be, and we need to clear that prior to moving this forward, because land development code doesn't allow us to move an application forward with an outstanding code violation. Whatever that might be. And there might not be one, it may be closed by now. This parcel just looks very familiar.
And I'll, cause it's been, and don't hold me to this, it's been about a year since those emails and the approvals on the stockpile. I'm gonna resend that to you because I think that's very important.
Yeah, because I
in
don't
this
have
conversation.
that.
Okay. I think that's very important in this conversation, and, but the goal is obviously we wanna obtain a development order, which I think would satisfy all the concerns, if there are still concerns, and I don't know the answer to that either. I just wanna get there.
Tractor and a box blade.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to amend my motion to offer to conditionally approve pending successful clearance of the code issue? And if there are no active code cases, to move it forward to the planning commission?
We got a recommended motion, we have a motion at the dais.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any further discussion? There will be public hearings at the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. We'll take this opportunity to invite any technical comment or question about this application at this time from any member of the audience. Anyone wishing to make a comment or ask a question? Seeing none, we'll close that portion. We have a motion on the table here. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carried. This item will move forward subject to the conditions. That brings us to item number 6, which is the Miramar Amalfi Regional Beach Access.
Mr. Chair, this is obviously for a proposed new regional beach access. It is request to approve by ordinance, a small scale amendment. submitted by Larry Jones on behalf of the Walton County Board of County Commissioners, requesting approval to amend the future land use category from coastal center to parks and recs on 2.1 plus or minus acres. The project is located due south of the intersection of Highway 2378 and Alamo Street, and is identified by the parcel numbers provided. Mr. Chair, this application has no outstanding comments, and it would be appropriate to consider moving this forward. The applicant is not here today. I will gladly try to answer any questions you may have for the TDC. Also, just a point, I have had conversations with TDC. This one, other than the other regional beach access, are starting to pick up public comments and entrance. I have nothing in writing as of the time I published this, but I advised the applicant he should be here for every step, just in case there are. This is also, Mr. Chair, as you remember, this regional beach access applied for a variance that at this past month's Board of Zoning Adjustments, but it wasn't, there were only 4 members, so they requested it to be continued till next month. That'll be for the landscaping in the front setback. So we will need that. That's independent of the future land use amendment request, but that'll be moving forward also.
Thank you, Bob. This will have a public hearing at Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. However, at this time, we'll entertain any technical questions or comments from any member of the audience. Anyone wishing to speak on this particular item? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a recommendation to approve and move forward to the Planning Commission in a timely manner.
So moved.
We have a motion at the dais. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I have one piece of information, if I may.
Sure.
Rachel was glad to email code for me. The complaint for cleared and filled without permits was open on 1/22/18. It was closed on 6/1/18. So there doesn't appear to be any active violations on that property. So I guess we can just move that forward then.
Get that confirmation in writing from code enforcement for the project file.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bob. That's our entire agenda. We'll stand adjourned.